The Royal Grenada Police Force confirms the unlawful death of a female, namely Marsha Sherman, a 33-year-old resident of St. Andrews. Her body was recovered outside her dwelling home shortly after midnight. One 45-year-old man, namely Isaac Gilbert, is currently assisting the police with this investigation. A postmortem is scheduled to be performed on Tuesday the 31st of July, that's today, as to determine the true cause of death. The Royal Grenada Police Force takes this opportunity to encourage complainants and victims coming to the police station to complain as it relates to acts of violence or abuse, to cooperate with the police in following through your complaints into the criminal justice system. The Royal Grenada Police Force also takes this opportunity to encourage persons using the social mediums, such as Facebook and BBM, to desist from sharing information that is untrue and which actually may appear to be very funny. What they're actually doing is creating fear of crime, social panic, and a total disruption of the quality of life based on the nature and the gruesomeness of the information that you're sending to persons throughout the world. We beg your cooperation and we thank you. We also take this opportunity to encourage the other arms of social control, such as our churches, to continue praying for our nation, increase your rhythm of praise and maintain it. Also, our social partners and NGOs to continue working with the victims as to alleviate and manage such crimes in our beautiful island. Thank you.
It's my understanding that the body was recovered on the tarpaulin?
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Yes. Yes. It may have been placed as a form of protection over the body until the police would have arrived there.
Well, the platforms and so on, or the police, I mean, the cause of death is not yet determined, but
yes, the police can confirm that the body did show signs of wounding that may have been inflicted by some instrument.
Which areas of the body are you in a position to say?
Not right now. We cannot confirm the areas of the body.
It is also my understanding that the last two recent victims had sought mediation by the police. Any facts for that?
All right. We do have some indications that the two victims in this matter they did come to the police at one point in time. But it's a problem where we have the victims start the process, we encourage them to continue by all means, and then they decide that they should not continue because they would make up. And you normally find this in crimes of passion, okay, where it's family involved. And that's why we're taking this opportunity to actually encourage these persons to think carefully and cooperate with the police in pursuing the full course of justice where such complaints are concerned.
Okay. So you are describing both recent incidents as crimes of passion?
Yes, we are concluding it to be crimes of passion.
Okay. On the question of the social media, there was a sort of announcement, if you would want to call it, that went out saying that people need to be on the lookout for 4 men clad in army uniforms, and people, you know, sending the messages out saying this is serious. Does the police know anything about it? And if it is false, I mean, we've seen over the past few days people putting up gruesome pictures, and the pictures of the girl when she was alive, the pictures of the guy, and this thing is just going over and over and over. I mean, I guess the police cannot do anything about it if it does not border on harassment or criminal, but you know, just to send that message out there that what they're doing is really, really destructive.
Yes, and that's why we continue to work in good partnership with our media relations, with our media partners, all right, to encourage them and to encourage their members, the persons that use their systems, their BBMs and so on, to cease it, because it really creates unnecessary panic. It is totally untrue. We have had no official reports of 4 persons walking around in SSU uniform or military uniform, for that sake. And if that is the case, then these persons need to come forward to the police and let us know so we can deal with it appropriately. All right, we have increased our patrols at all levels, and we've had no reports of same. So we're really encouraging persons using the social mediums to cease such practice. It's really not doing the Grenadian public any good at all with the nature of these rumors.
Are there any penalties that can be derived from one who disseminates false information, whether they do it knowingly or innocently?
All right, I believe that you can be, because what you're doing, you're actually instigating something that is not legal. And anything you do that is not legal, then there is a penalty for it. But I cannot tell you now any specific penalty for it.
What's the count in the amount of murders for the year? We'll say 8 months into 2012. What's the number?
All right, I cannot confirm that presently, but it should be around 9.
No.
Yes.
No,
This
more
so
than-
I don't want to go in juvie and not be watching it.
I know.
So what is the police intending to do with this canvas?
I know. Actually, on Thursday at 2 p.m., you will have a thorough brief by our Assistant Commissioner in charge of operations as it relates to policing the carnival season. All right, and we have a very effective plan. All right, we've always had a very beautiful carnival season when it comes to policing the event, and on Thursday you will be thoroughly informed by ACP Martin as it relates to the strategies to be employed.
You said that you called on social partners like the church and so on
NGOs.
to assist. How exactly do you propose that they help in this kind of a situation?
All right. Now, they are the social arms of control in any given society. The church have a very strong influential power when it comes to the decision making in any society. That's one. Secondly, we believe in the prevailing power of prayer. Now, we always say that we are a Christian society. Unfortunately, we only pray whenever things seems to be going wrong. No, we really need to get out of that practice and begin to pray at all times, at all seasons, and pray for the peace and stability of Grenada. Because prayer do work. When you study crime and policing in other regions, especially Europe, many theorists will acknowledge that wherever spirituality has been practiced in terms of praying for peace, they have seen a reduction in crime. And as a social arm in any society, they have that power, they have that authority, which is also spiritual. And we know that it works. So we're calling them to pray, and pray more, and pray harder for the peace and safety of Grenada. Because policing is not a police work. We are just police officers. Policing a society takes absolutely everybody. Everybody has their part to play.
There was an incident at the prison. 2 prison officers were arrested. Was it part of one police operation, or you got a tip off from somewhere, or the police just moved in there as routine procedure and these guys were caught?
The Royal Grenada Police Force, they are constantly conducting operations, and you've noticed we've been very successful with all our operations. And that operation where the prison happened to be part of it, they were very successful there also.
Any updates on the Akira Lalji case in terms of the missing body parts?
Okay, we are aware that 2 thighs were discovered at Perseverance, and same were removed by the funeral agent.
But nothing, no other discoveries up to this time.
Does the search continue?
I do not believe so. I do not believe so. It's probably too late.
When were those ties discovered?
Can I repeat?
When were they discovered, the ties?
during the weekend search by the police officers.
But I don't know if you gave it already.
Rebecca Jones is a recommendation we can put forward to the social media. Some of the other social agencies, such as the Ministry of Social Department, you have GNOW, these NGOs, they can do same. I am a qualified brown belt, but sometimes even I myself would not be too quick to use what I have learned, because it carries the same deadly weight. Because a big man can approach me and little me, and I can execute a certain move and he will die. You know, so either way is really just a defense mechanism. But I agree, just like how we have the SSU Fitness Club, we can put forward a recommendation for martial arts in defensive tactics. But in these crimes of passions, like we say, the man comes after and he says, "Oh darling, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. I'll never do it again. I'll go and get help. I'll go and get counseling." And we're very nice women. We say, "Okay, I forgive you," and we will make that up. And give him 2 months, if it's all that. And it happens again, and unfortunately, the next time is the last. You know? So women have to get to the point where they accept, my partner is violent and I need to stay away from him until such time. Yes.
What's the frequency of crimes of passion? Not literally a homicide occurring, but blows in the clothes.
Yes. That is of a concern, and I'm sure the Ministry of Social Affairs will be able to share much light on it, because throughout the force we have noticed an increase in our reports of domestic violence and other forms of abuse. Now, that could mean an increase in the actual offense, and it also could mean an increase in the awareness of women knowing that I must not tolerate this. I have to get the police involved. So either way, it could account for the increase, but we have had a reasonable increase in the amount of reports as it relates to domestic violence. So we have a lot of work to do as a whole in addressing conflict and abuse in the home.
Do you think
And
that
how regular does your department come to relations would see couples who have domestic problems?
Every day.
do you think it has anything to do
No
with
exaggeration.
Every day. Every day.
does it have anything to do with the present state of the economy? You know, people, women and some lots of women, some them sort of depend on men and so on, lack of independence amongst
Most
women.
of our investigations does not reveal such. And maybe the man may want to use that as an excuse for his frustration, but at the time it does not appear to be one of the reasons why I decide to box up and kick up and pelt outside. It does not appear to be one of the reasons.
And in your follow-ups, after persons would have come and reported domestic violence, could you tell me if 99% of the times these men go back to the women or women go back to the men afterwards?
Most times. I will give it a 80%.
Settlement.
No, 80% where they decide to make back. Yes. And even though they would have really separated, you will find that you've seen these two people down the road again and you wonder, you know, but these are the same two people that we have to go to court with. You know? Yes.
The Ministry of Social Development, I know, was working along with the police in several training sessions in terms of how to handle these cases.
Right.
How would you say that has been working?
That is very effective, I must say. It's very effective. And everything seems to be playing out well, except when it comes to the victim, following through, cooperating and following through. Everything else seems to be working just fine.
But you know, cadet officer, the police has been reportedly saying to people who will call in now for a domestic problem, well, it's man and woman business, how they going to make up that? Is that still occurring? Because I've heard people reporting such things.
Yes, that is is history where policing is actually concerned. I have not heard of that over the last 10 years or so. So that is some serious history. The law, our standing order, instructs us to deal with every report of that nature. And we ourselves are seeing the consequences. We have seen the consequences when we fail, or whenever we have failed in the past to address calls and reports of that nature. So we don't ever do it because we know what can come up. And at the end of the day, research is going to show, well, you know, this person did call the police and they went there and look what they say. So we ensure, we have gone out of our way to ensure that that does not happen. And I take this as a serious commendation to the police and encourage them in that light, you know, because we are very serious about that.
The reports you've been having in terms of domestic violence, is it only women?
Men for it to come forward.
Let me think carefully of the instance
Right.
of
Realistic relation, portion
come to me. I have seen some, but they are very, very few. Okay, and I know we have had instances where we had to get restraining order against a woman, but that is extremely rare. It was one of those one-off cases.